Today on Larry King Now, Oscar, Emmy, and Tony Award-winning actress Ellen Burstyn. Remember why you became an actor?
I was good at it.
You're a very youthful 81, aren't you?
I don't feel any different than I felt at 40, except I have new knees. Well, I was asked to write my memoir, so I started writing, and I kept coming up against these events where I'd go, ooh, I can't write that. And I did that so many times, and I finally said, well, if I'm going to tell the story, I might as well tell it.
On her directing debut.
I've made an awful lot of films. I've worked with the best directors in the business, and I think I know how to do it.
Plus,
during the 60s and 70s in Hollywood, there was an awful lot of pot smoking, and I did then, but I never did any. I did LSD twice, but I never.
What was that like?
It was no good for me. I just cried the whole time.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest is the extraordinarily talented Ellen Burstyn. She's in esteemed company as one of the few actors to hold an Oscar, a Tony, an Emmy, the triple crown of acting. She made her Broadway debut more than 50 years ago, and you've seen her in storied film career that includes Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, The Exorcist, and Requiem for a Dream, and now she's cutting new territory as a first-time director with the film Bathing Flow, and you can see her starring in The Calling, currently in theaters. How do you keep up with yourself?
I just keep on marching.
Who is that?
That's Zoe, my friend. She travels with me. Yes, we're talking about you. Thank you.
Zoe was a rescue dog?
Yes, I don't believe in buying dogs anymore. There's so many dogs that need rescuing, and so many dogs get put to death every day. So she's a rescue.
Before we get to The Calling, you're known for the role Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, but you nearly directed it, right?
Well, John Calley, I brought it to Warner Brothers, the script, and he asked me if I wanted to direct it also. And I said, I don't think I'm ready to act and direct at the same time. And so I went looking for a director, and I found an unknown director named Martin Scorsese, and I hired him. And that turned out to be a very good decision.
Where did you find him?
I asked Francis Coppola to recommend somebody who was new and exciting. And he said, look at a film called Mean Streets. And Warner Brothers owned it, and they showed it to me. And I said, yeah, that's what I want.
What made him special? What makes him special?
He has incredible energy on the set. There's like this very creative feeling that everybody's taking part in, the crew, the actors, him, and there's an aliveness on his set that translates to film.
Now, you're directing Bathing Flow, right?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, we haven't started yet. I mean, we're just beginning to talk about casting. I was offered the part of Flo, and I loved it. And then as I was reading it, I started envisioning scenes. And then I told the writer and the producer about the scenes I was envisioning, and they liked it. And then I said, well, why don't I direct it? And somehow they went for it.
So you'll be in it and direct it.
I will.
So this is your first directing.
Yeah.
And you choose a film in which you will also be in.
Well, I'm ready for that now. I wasn't in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I've made an awful lot of films. I've worked with the best directors in the business. And I think I know how to do it. And I've been artistic director at the Actors Studio for, I don't know, on and off 40 years. So I've been teaching actors, and I know how to talk to actors. So I feel very confident.
You remember why you became an actor?
I was good at it. I found out in high school that it was something I could do. I was a high school dropout. I never went to class. I always skipped class. I failed everything. But I was captain of the cheerleaders and president of the drama club and president of the student council. I did everything but go to school. And when I was on stage, it just felt, yeah, I can do this.
Where did you grow up?
Detroit.
Was there a good theater in Detroit? Did you break in?
No, as soon as I was 18, I left and first went to Texas and then to New York.
I want to quote something you've said. They haven't been put through the pain machine that inevitably comes the longer you're in the business. They haven't been wounded yet, and they're more in touch with their artistic impulses. You were talking about young directors. You like working with young people,
I
right?
do. I was in the second film of Martin Scorsese, of Peter Bogdanovich, of Billy Friedkin, of
Wow.
Darren Aronofsky. Second film somehow. First they made their film, and then they had a chance to make a second one, and then they asked me to be in it. Bob Rafelson. I was in a lot of second films. I like it when directors are young and haven't been hurt yet, as I said in that.
Directing belongs to the director in film, right?
It's a director's medium, yeah.
Actor has more control in theater.
That's
because
right.
once the curtain opens,
That's right.
the director ain't there.
Yeah.
Did you like theater?
I love theater. I do it all the time. I just did a production of The Cherry Orchard at the Actors Studio for free. Just a bunch of actors got together and we did a production. I love working on stage. There's nothing like it.
You've spoken about the scarcity of female roles. You said the industry is run by men and about men and for men. That was from a Q&A screening of Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. You still feel that? You still feel women?
It's changed somewhat. Alice was the first film that was told from a woman's point of view. I mean, historically, that's not my opinion. And at that time, there were very few films about and by and for women. Now there are. Now we've had a woman win an Academy Award, a director, and there are more. It's still a man's world, though.
Yeah, women only account for 17% of the writers, directors, and producers, and that's been unchanged for 15 years, according to the New York Times.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a time where you were maybe the only actress self-initiating your own projects, right?
Yes, when I did Alice, I was the only woman that was directing her own projects, but there have been more since then, and I feel very happy that there was that change. Where do you want to go?
Ellen will tell us about her new film, The Calling, right after this. We're back with the wonderful Ellen Burstyn. Chloe is roaming the studio.
Zoe.
Zoe is.
But you know, a lot of people call her Chloe. I don't know why.
All right, tell me about this new movie, which is very dark, called The Calling. That was a book. Wasn't it? I think it was a book.
I think there is a book called The Calling, but I don't know if it's the same one. It stars Susan Sarandon, and she's brilliant in it, as she always is. It's a mystery and a little scary, and I play her mother. Donald Sutherland is in it. It's a very unusual film.
Because?
Well, if I tell you that, I'll
All right, well, tell me about Emily, the part you play.
I play her mother. I'm the she's had a bad accident and she's in pain and has a bad back, and I'm the kind of the stability in her life. She's a kind of stubborn person who doesn't take care of herself, but she's the detective in the film. So she's solving the
crime,
the serial killings.
It's dark.
It's dark. Yeah.
Do you like films like that?
To go to and observe, or to be in?
Either way.
I like films that hook me in, that make me wonder what's going to happen next, whether they're comedies or dramas or scary films. I don't mind scary films, but I don't like gory films.
Me either.
I don't like blood and guts and hands being cut off and heads being cut off.
Do you like The Exorcist?
I love The Exorcist because it's a psychological drama. I mean, if you look at it again, you know, it really holds up. I saw it on Halloween night in London on TV, and I was pleased how well it holds up.
You also starred in the #1 cable movie this year, Flowers in the Attic. Does cable give you more freedom?
Well, they're doing some pretty interesting things these days. I mean, that's a famous book with incestuous relationship at its center, you know. I don't think you could have done that on the networks, you know. They're doing good writing on cable now.
You're a very youthful 81, aren't you?
I am.
I mean, you feel young?
I don't feel any different than I felt at 40, except I have new knees.
Oh, you're one of those. You got new knees, huh?
Yeah.
You've been in the business a while. Old Hollywood is so different from what now, right? And did you come up through when the studios controlled things?
Well, I started working in the 70s, which now...
It was a little after that, right?
Yeah. And we now understand that to be the golden age. That was the time when filmmakers were making films, not big studios, the multinational corporations taking over and doing what will make the most money. That people were doing films because there was something they wanted to say and something that moved them. So I wasn't aware that in the 70s I was in a period that I hope we'll see again, but maybe we won't.
What was your break? In other words, how did we, the collective we, get to know you?
I decided to be an actress. I was a model. I was 24. I said, all right, I've made up my mind. I'm going to do a Broadway play this fall. And I went around saying that to everybody and saying, do you know anybody who can get me an audition? And somebody said, yeah, I have a friend who works for the William Morris Agency. I'll ask her. And she got me an audition for a play that was a part of a model, which I was. And it was the first time I was ever on a Broadway stage. It was my first audition, and I got the part. And the person who sent me up was the secretary at William Morris, and her boss, the agent, had no idea what the producer was talking about when he called and said, we like your girl. But he made his secretary an agent.
What was the play?
It was called Fair Game. It was with Sam Levine. Do you remember Sam?
I love Sam.
Yeah. It was a comedy, 1957.
But what was the break where we knew the name Ellen Burstyn? Had to be a movie, right?
Well, yeah, probably The Last Picture Show. Unless I was in a Paul Mazursky film before that. Can't think of the name.
He just passed away.
I know he did, and I saw him just before he did.
I loved him.
He was a great guy. And
Last Picture Show was incredible.
Yeah.
Did you like that script? You read it. Did you think that would be the hit it was?
Well, I didn't think in those terms. It was just a good script. And there were 3 parts in it I could have played, and I was sent up for one part. And I told Peter I wanted to play the other part, and he had me read that, and then he had me read the 3rd one, and then he said, okay, we know you're in the movie. Now we just have to figure out what part you're going to play.
Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
We'll get personal with Ellen right after this. We're back with Ellen Burstyn. She is currently, you'll see her currently in The Calling. She's going to be directing Bathing Flow. Do we get to see you bathe?
Yeah.
Okay. You wrote a memoir several years ago and were very candid. Why did you choose to write about what you wrote about?
Well, I was asked to write my memoir, so I started writing, and I kept coming up against these events where I'd go, ooh, I can't write that. And I did that so many times, and I finally said, are you going to tell your story, or are you putting out a publicity blurb, you know? So I decided, well, if I'm going to tell the story, I might as well tell it. And I did. And as it was being published, I started feeling, oh my God, what have I done? Everybody's going to know all this stuff. I've made a horrible mistake. But then after it came out, I heard from so many women who it helped because they had had similar experiences that they were living in shame about. And it helped them to have it be aired and get out, and especially with someone who was famous.
You grew up in an abusive household, right?
Yeah, abusive might be, well, it's probably not too strong a word. It was pretty abusive.
Physically or psychologically or both?
Both. I had a tough mother who believed in punishing physically, so that happened a lot. and a stepfather who also was very punishing. So I was always in the wrong, and I was always getting punished for it. And actually, it wasn't until I got out and got into the world I realized that I was an artist, and I was in non-artist surroundings, and they didn't get me, and I didn't get them. So I was always being punished for being wrong.
And for being beautiful, do you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Do you think that kind of upbringing drove you to the stage, where you can go into other people?
An awful lot of actors have unhappy childhoods, so I'm not quite sure what the reason is, but it does seem to be a correlation there.
Now tell me about, you went to the Alps, right? Mm-hmm. And you got involved with Sufi mystics.
Well,
What is Sufism, and what is a Sufi mystic?
Well, I don't know if I would write Sufi mystic. Sufism, it has always been the mystical branch of Islam. The teacher that I met was interested in how the religions are the same, how the truth lives in all of them, and that's what attracted me. I think the major problems in the world are from people who say, I know the way, and unless you believe in my way, you're wrong, and I'm going to kill you for it. So this was a religion that, this sect, that had a ceremony that welcomed all of the holy books on the
Sounds
altar.
like Baha'i.
It's very similar to Baha'i, yeah.
Do you practice it now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there a church you go to?
No, it's private.
It's very personal then.
Yeah, it's really one of the definitions of a Sufi is a seeker of truth. And in that way, I'm a Sufi.
When you were a child and you were going through all this, did they have a say, yes or no, about what shows and profession you picked?
I left home on my 18th birthday. As soon as I could get out, I got out.
Where did you go?
Across town in Detroit, and then within a few months, I got on a Greyhound bus and went to Texas, and from there to New York.
And started acting in New York?
I started modeling. I modeled for a few years before I acted.
Did you ever get into the drug field?
No, during the 60s and 70s in Hollywood, there was an awful lot of pot smoking, and I did then, but I never did any. I did LSD twice, but I never.
What was that like?
It was no good for me. I just cried the whole time.
You have an uncommon view of death, and you said, we don't face death as a reality. In our culture, we turn from it. There's something shameful about aging. Rather than coming into your peaceful acceptance of death, you're coming to that place that nobody wants to look at or talk about. That's because, if I offer an opinion, it's the great mystery, isn't it? So
that's the great mystery.
Why wouldn't we fear that?
Well,
I fear it. Because I like being alive, and I want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, and I fear non-existence.
Yeah, it's scary if you let it be, but I don't know. It is a great mystery, and who knows but what we're not going to get there and learn all of the secrets of the universe.
I can't make that leap.
No.
Have you made that leap? Do you think you're going to go somewhere?
I want to greet it with awe. I'm going to go there and say, let me have it. What is it? And if it's nothing, I won't know that.
That's right. So I always say to believers, you can't lose, right?
Yeah.
You can't lose, because you'll either be somewhere or you won't, and if you won't, you don't know it.
Right, and I don't have any problem with not knowing ahead of time.
And I do. And we're the same age.
Well, there's a great Buddhist practice that I practice all the time called letting go. And or non-grasping. And it's just letting go of this moment into the next moment, letting go of your worries, letting go of your belief systems, just letting go. So I try and practice that all the time, and it's the best practice for coming towards death, because that's the final letting go.
I'll try to get some information on Christopher Nolan's Interstellar when we come back. We're back with Ellen Burstyn. Zoe continues to wander. And you're starring in The Calling. You'll be directing Bathing Flow, and you recently finished filming a very highly anticipated film, Interstellar. What is it about?
You know, we're all sworn to secrecy. We can't talk about it. It's space travel. I think I can say that. Sci-fi. It's big, and I have a small part.
Who's in it?
Matthew McConaughey.
Great guy.
Yeah, he's wonderful. There are a lot of actors in it, but I'm not supposed to say.
When is it coming?
In November. And then I have another film coming out in January called The Age of Adeline with Blake Lively. Do you know Blake?
Yeah.
Wonderful girl.
You keep working, right?
I keep working. I love it. You do too. Right?
Yeah, I never get tired of it.
No.
Interstellar, now you got me really... Will my curiosity pay off?
I think so. I haven't seen it, but I saw Matthew McConaughey at the Emmys. I said, am I still in the film? Because I had such a small part, it could be cut. He said, you're in it. I've seen it. It's great. It's big.
We have some social media questions for you. Gerard Murphy on Facebook. Would you like to play Lady Macbeth?
Yes.
Lang's third Emmy via Twitter. When are you coming back to Broadway?
When they'll have me.
Cody Joe Brown on Facebook. What's a role you wanted and didn't get?
Joan of Arc.
Go save France. Tori, Mel Brooks, go save France. Tori from 1965 on Instagram. Do you plan on writing another book?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
And now we play the game of If You Only Knew. I just throw questions out.
Okay.
Remember the first boy you kissed?
Jerry Gerger. Gerger.
Jerry
Detroit.
Gerger in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you, Ellen?
16?
Late.
Well, it was then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's different now.
Quality in a person you treasure the most?
Honesty, sincerity, authenticity, let me say. Authenticity.
Good word. Biggest career regret?
I probably should have taken One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and didn't. And I also regret I didn't direct sooner, so I'm fixing that. I can give that up.
You could have played the nurse.
I was offered the nurse, yeah.
She won an Academy Award.
I know, the year after I won for Alice.
That was some movie.
Yes, and she was wonderful in it.
That was a mistake, Ellen.
It was a mistake, but I was spending a lot of time in mental wards at the time with my sick husband, so I didn't want to go work in one.
Fellow actor you always pick up the call for?
Any of them.
A role that's close to your heart. Of all the things you've done, is there?
There's a picture I did, I love, called Resurrection, that only certain people
Who
know.
was in that?
Me and Sam Shepard.
It was a great movie.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, Broadway, TV, or film?
Broadway.
Comedy or drama?
Maybe comedy.
Superpower you'd love to have?
How super?
Anyway, anything. I'd want to be invisible.
I want to end war on the planet Earth.
That's powerful. Ideal weekend?
Oh, God. Just one, huh?
You love New York, right?
I love New York. My son comes in from where I used to live. It's about an hour away, about once a week. And we go either to a museum or to the Bronx Zoo or, to some special place.
What does he do?
He has a painting company.
Co-star that left a lasting impression on you?
Maybe Alan Alda comes to mind at the same time
guy.
next year.
That was a great movie.
He's a wonderful
Good
man.
play, too.
Yeah, thank you.
Funniest co-star?
Gene Wilder comes to mind.
I love him.
Yeah.
Someone you'd love to work with?
Al Pacino.
My good friend. He's in the Actors Studio, too, right?
We're co-presidents.
Someone you'd love to direct?
Well, the cast of the movie I'm about to direct, Louis C.K. said he'll be in it.
Oh, will he?
Yeah, he said he will. I hope
He's
he will.
terrific.
Yeah.
What's a hidden talent you have?
Cooking,
Oh. What's a pet peeve?
complainers.
Something that would surprise people about you.
When I'm not working, I'm very lazy.
Thank you, doll. What a great pleasure.
Thank you.
I want to thank my guest, Ellen Burstyn. You can see her in The Calling in theaters now. Be on the lookout for the upcoming Interstellar and Ellen's directorial debut in Bathing Flow. Remember, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.